it doesn't mean you get the book of Ibn Jarir, as we know is from the scholars of the Mufassirun. So if you read his book, takes you an hour, 2 hours, now you know about tafsir. It doesn't mean that. This is what the Shaykh is saying. Likewise, he says, we have an example of a man who intends to study the science of hadith. So he goes to the book Nal al-Awtar and begins with that. And then he goes to Fath al-Bari and says, that's it. I finished one chapter of Fath al-Bari and I have understood the science of hadith. Yeah? So what the Shaykh is saying here is, the student of knowledge shouldn't try to capture everything in one go, yani in one sitting. For those brothers here who have been to places like Damaj, mashallah, you find that the Shaykh will only talk about one hadith, and the dars is maybe 20 minutes, some of them, 20 minutes in the masjid. He just talks about one hadith, explains it, khalas. He didn't get the whole Bukhari straight after, let's finish the whole Bukhari today. No. Because knowledge comes slowly over the passage of time. And in other places you see the same thing. When you want to learn the Arabic language, you don't get all the nahwu straight away. Because we wouldn't be able to understand it. We couldn't even comprehend it. Just as the Tabi'een said, it will go in one ear, and it will come out the other end, mudaf ilayh, and all this. You'll be like, subhanAllah, what's this? You haven't even learned hada wa hadihi yet. So this is what the Shaykh is saying. Another expression is, don't run before you can walk. And definitely, don't walk if you can't crawl. So this is what the Shaykh is saying. So ilm comes in stages. Just as Allah Ta'ala revealed the deen of Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala through the Messenger of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in stages. In stages. If Allah Ta'ala wanted to reveal the whole Quran, Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala could have done that. Bam! Boom, you got a book, Quran. Boom, it's arrived in Makkah. Of course Allah can do that. Kun fayakun, done. Here's the deen of Allah. Read it. But tell me, if you started reading Surah Baqarah and we started to read the Quran, we would be all over the place. Why? Because so many subjects come up, so many issues come up, so many parables come up, so many issues come up, so many rulings come in, so many issues, so many things, intricate, light, easy, difficult, all of them come. So the sunnah of Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala is what? Al-ilm al-daraja. It came in stages, from the most priority issues to not the least, but the more intricate ones. Allah Ta'ala didn't say, from the first time that Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was given the revelation, that as of today, women must wear hijab, men must grow their beards, stop drinking khamar. No. The first thing was worship Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala alone. The first thing was what? Worship Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala alone. And then when you worship Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala alone, then came the other rulings. And then came the other rulings. And then for us, it's the same thing. And this is an aspect of speaking about the deen of Allah without knowledge. Is when you speak about the deen of Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala, it also has to be done, a methodology that is the same as how the deen came to us. Don't go and speak to someone don't go, to go and speak to a sister who doesn't know Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala. The only attribute and connection she has with the deen of Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala is her name. Her mother gave her the name Fatima. She doesn't even know who Fatima is. And you say to her, Astaghfirullah sister, put your hijab on. Ya akhi, she doesn't even know one of the names of Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala. She doesn't even know who Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is other than my name. So the first thing you say to her, put your hijab on. I'm not saying that we tell the sister to take the hijab off. I'm not saying that. I'm saying what precedes must come first. So the first thing, as Mu'adh ibn Jabal was instructed by the Prophet ﷺ, he said to him that you're going to the people of the book, the first thing you call them to is the Tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that none has the right to be worshipped except Allah. It's the first thing. And then when they accept that, then tell them that the prayer is prescribed upon them. And then so on and so forth. Didn't say, tell the Christian women as soon as they say Shahada, put on the hijab. And as soon as they do that, start fasting now and start doing... Relax, ikhwah. Take it in stages, understand. And the root of the deen is Tawheed. That's the root of the deen. All of the issues that surround it are based upon that pillar. Without that pillar, your religion is null void. Without Tawheed, you have no deen. Because that's what differentiates us from the other religions. And this is equal to, and the Shaykh mentions this, to those people who, the first thing that the person comes to is thinking about Islam, so the da'wah that he is given is jihad fi sabilillah. So you have the youth, and they come, and they want to know about the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what happens? The first thing they're taught is what? Jihad fi sabilillah. You know, we have to fight for the cause of Allah. You have to fight for the cause of Allah. That's the first thing you have to do. Can't you see the oppression of all of our brothers and sisters? Can't you see what's happening? The boy doesn't even know why he's Muslim. He doesn't even know why he's Muslim yet. And that's how you know. That's how you know from the deviated groups and the groups that are upon the correct path. Why? Because the people who are upon the correct path, their first call is to Tawheed. It has to be. It cannot be anything else. Every time I give any durus, that's the first thing I say, Tawheed, Tawheed, Tawheed. You cannot speak about Tawheed enough. If you die speaking about nothing other than Tawheed, you have achieved much. But you find them, the first thing they do is they say, the Khalifa, the Khilafah. We have to establish the Khilafah, but based upon what? What are we going to establish this Khilafah upon? Nokia phones? What are we going to base it on? Your Islam or my Islam? His Islam or her Islam? Which Islam are we going to base it on? It doesn't matter about that. That's detail. That's not important. Just establish the Khilafah. Or go and fight. Just go and give your life up for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But I don't know who Allah is. And the list goes on. And the list goes on. Others, they call to your deen, just join my party. That's the main thing. Just come. Or the others, they say, don't worry about anything. All we got to do is just go for 40 days. That's the main thing. Don't worry about anything else. As long as we're going for 40 days, okay, you can't do 40, 3 days, come 3 days, and we knock on people's doors and we tell them to come to Allah. And then when you're in the masjid, you don't know anything about the deen, you've never read one hadith, they make you stand up and say something about the deen of Allah. SubhanAllah. What kind of da'wah is this? Did the Prophet ﷺ, when one of the people, when they took shahada, did he make them stand up in the masjid and say, this new person has come to the deen, he's going to teach us the deen of Allah? Is that what he did? No. The Prophet ﷺ, he gave da'wah. Why? Because he's the one who's most knowledgeable. SubhanAllah. This is how people get deviated. When you look at it, it's very simple. But when you talk to them, they'll give you all sorts of mental gymnastics as to why they're right. But if you keep it simple, you say, what is your call? If it's not Tawheed, the first thing, you know there's something wrong. So the third thing that the Shaykh mentioned